My Knicks family, what is popping with you? My man Evergreen is in here confused, ladies and gentlemen. He's confused. He thought we were already live, but we're just now getting live. What's popping with you guys tonight, ladies and gentlemen? The New York Knicks lost to the Detroit Pistons 99-91. And I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people who feel a lot of different ways about the loss. So we're going to go ahead and jump into it. Evergreen, I'm going to start with you. I just want your reaction on tonight. And then, we'll get into some specifics, just your overall reaction to the game tonight.
Man, I was confused, man. Because I was looking for a scapegoat as to justifying, giving a real justification as to why we lost and what was going on. And it's like, I couldn't pinpoint on what was wrong. It was like Detroit made so many crazy adjustments, quick adjustments in comparison to Friday's game that the whole entire Knicks team looked like lethargic out there, man. And I don't know who to blame. But we'll get over it, I guess, right?
Yeah,
we'll figure it out.
Yeah. I mean, Kev, what about you? Cornerstone, what about you, man?
I found myself cursing up a storm because the team that I saw on Friday didn't resemble the team that I saw tonight as far as from a defensive standpoint. And I think Detroit was just a little bit more hungrier than what we were. They threw that zone at us, and we really didn't have any answers. I mean, we adjusted in the third quarter, but still, and I could see everyone now clamoring back to slamming, Knox, slamming DSJ, slamming Frank, slamming Randall. I could see all that, coming back now.
Well, that was good. That never went away. That's going to happen all season long.
Well, you know what? It didn't go away, but it was quiet on Friday. It was quiet on Friday because everybody, had that intensity. Didn't see that tonight.
Okay.
So that's what I think.
Let me get to Not. Let's see if Not, if we get a little bit better sound. Not.
Yo.
What was your take on tonight, man?
We were in the game in the third quarter, Going into the fourth quarter, we were 75-75. I was proud of that, man. First 5 minutes, man, we just blew the fourth quarter, man. We gave up the lead. Didn't have the intensity. Knox was getting beat by Josh Smith. But in the fourth quarter, man, we got to keep ourselves in the game. We can't be blowing up, giving up the tie or the lead, man. We got to keep that same intensity.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think part of that fourth quarter was the young guys. The young guys didn't really keep up that intensity. I feel like, so when I look at the game, we came out, maybe a little bit flat. Maybe Detroit had a little bit more hunger to this game because they didn't want to lose 2 in a row to the Knicks on their home floor. Right. And so it didn't look like we really matched that intensity coming out. What I do like is the first play of the game, they wanted to get RJ involved. That first play of the game, they found a play for RJ going to the basket. I like that, right? And I thought I saw, at least in that first quarter, the Knicks trying to use sets a little bit more than they did in the first game, right? Looking to use sets, move the ball around, have some player movement, have some ball movement. And trying to find some sets to get into in the beginning of the game. They lost it a little bit somewhere, not a little bit. They lost it in that first quarter. They went down by 8, and then the young guys came in. And so now I was really looking to see, okay, the young guys came in, the starters were in, and I seen people sending out tweets and people in group chats saying, oh, this can't be the starting five. This starting five sucks, this, that, and the other thing. There's no spacing, there's no shooting, there's no this, there's no that. Right? And they went down by 8. And I said, well, maybe what they're saying has some truth to it. Then the young guys come in, and I was looking to see, okay, can they bring that same spark? Can they bring that energy? And, they basically kept it the same. I think the Pistons with the young guys in went up about 15 points, right? And then Thibodeau, then they cut it back down to about 12 or 13. Thibodeau made some substitutions. He used a player that he hadn't used in the first game in Emmanuel Quickly, right? He had a lineup on the floor of, Frank, Emmanuel Quickly, I think R.J. Barrett, Julius Randle, right? And at one point, he had Obi Toppin out there with Julius Randle with those guys, right? So that was kind of a different lineup, a different look. I think he was trying to get some shooting on the floor with Emmanuel Quickly and Obi Toppin out there at that point in time. But the Knicks went into the locker room down 10. Sloppy play in the first half, missed defensive rotations, bad play. They come out in the third quarter, and they play with a lot of energy. And they start to fight, and they start to scrap, and they get themselves back in the game. They take a 2-point lead. They end up going into the fourth quarter tied at 75. Largely, in part, to that starting 5. The same starting 5 that everybody was like, oh, these guys are terrible. They just can't work together. They just can't play together. Well, they actually brought the lead from being down 10 to taking the lead, actually. And they did some smart things on the floor. In that third quarter, Alec Burks got hot. And they found him. They said, we've got to find Alec Burks. And listen, Josh, people are going to hate me when I say it. That's cool. I'm all for it. But the first time that I realized that they were actually looking for Alec Burks, Julius Randle got the ball on the wing, and I was expecting him to try to go to the basket. Right? Instead, he looked at Burks, and he called him to the ball. He gave him the ball. He set a screen. I don't remember if he came off and he shot the 3 off of the screen, but they looked for him and got him the ball. I don't think he made it. I think some other things transpired, but they looked and they found him again on that same possession, and he made the 3. And then the next person to look for him was R.J. Barrett. Purposely tried to find Alec Burks, right? And I think maybe Elfrid Payton did the same. Looking for him like they were trying to find Alec Burks. The plays didn't look good, and they didn't look, like they were well executed. And that's okay for me right now. But the idea is that they knew something that they wanted to do, and they did it. And no matter how sloppy the execution was, they were able to execute in getting the ball to Alec Burks in the third quarter, and he was knocking down shots. Right? That right there was, to me, that's learning. That's starting to learn your team. But for everyone that was complaining about that starting 5, that same starting 5 brought us back.
Yep.
And then as soon as the young guys came in, they didn't have the same defensive intensity. And I feel like that's something that Thibodeau's going to have to work on with those young guys, or find the right rotation with that group. If these are going to be if that's going to be the first group for now, then that second group, you got to find a way to you got to find some defensive intensity out of that second group, right? I'm a little bit concerned about that. Then of course, Tom Thibodeau did some mixing and matching for the rest of the half to try to find a lineup that was going to work, to work again to get them, to get the lead back. But they didn't. Now, I found it interesting that down the stretch, he went with Frank Ntilikina instead of Elfrid Payton. Elfrid Payton it's not like he was scoring the basketball or doing anything amazing out there. But he was part of the squad that brought the team back from down 10. Right? So I was surprised that he, rolled with Frank Ntilikina, but that's good. Right? That's good. He rolled with Frank Ntilikina down that stretch. I guess he figured, maybe I'll get the same thing from Frank as I'm getting from Alfred offensively, but maybe I'll get a little bit more defensively from Frank. I don't know if that's exactly the case because I think Alfred does a good job distributing the basketball and getting the ball around the people. Whether or not it always leads to an assist, I think he does a good job doing that. Scoring, that's not his forte, but he can get the ball around. All in all, to me, it was an up and down effort from the Knicks. A lot of mistakes made. They're not shooting the ball well. Didn't shoot the ball particularly well tonight. A lot of things to work through. They gave up 99 points. They scored 90. When they beat the Pistons, how much did they score? They scored 90 when they beat the Pistons the other night, but they played better defense. So I think scoring is going to be an issue for this team. Josh, what was your takeaway from the game?
Basically, I agree with everything that you said in regards to that young unit, that the DSJ, the Frank, the Knox, that second unit with Knox in there. I totally agree with you. And listen, like I've been saying this since day one, the Knicks need more scoring on the roster. We're going to see a lot of games like this where everything gets slowed down and if they don't have someone in the half court that can be able to put the ball in the bucket besides RJ Barrett, they're going to need someone else on this roster. And Knicks fans hate this, but Julius Randle and Elfrid Payton are the best guys that we have as far as point guard and power forward. They're the best guys for that position, and they deserve to be in the starting lineup. Now, Frank, DSJ, and Knox, they're getting their minutes in that second unit, but when they come out there, they got to be able to produce. And we're so eager to hold on to these guys and, and give these guys all the playing time. But if they're not producing in the playing time that we give them, then what is the point? Now, I get it. It's early. And I'm going to say it again. It is early. It's only the second preseason game, and we still have a whole season to play. But we're so anxious to hold on to these guys. Like, at some point, we got to go out there and we got to be aggressive in trades, and we need to go bring somebody else in here that can score the basketball. Because in half court, if the Knicks are not running, the Knicks can't really score that much. They can't. We've seen it tonight. And I've been saying this since day one, and everyone was disagreeing with me. But I've been expecting this.
Well, I mean, scoring, I think is definitely going to be an issue throughout the season. And it's not, there's nothing we can do now as far as any other players besides try to find a way to utilize the abilities of all of these players. And that's going to be up to Tom Thibodeau. And I think Tom Thibodeau is still trying to figure out, who can do what. Kev, I just unmuted you, man. He's trying to figure out who can do what and where to put guys, where to place guys, and how best to utilize guys. The way that we see these guys play offensively today, I don't think is going to be the way that we see them play offensively in 30 or 35 games.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Sam. I mean, the only thing, Josh, I will agree with is that our point guard situation of them setting them up, that's a problem. But as far as scoring, the scoring is going to come, all right? And
is it?
Yeah, I think it will, especially with Knox. But what I will say is you slamming Frank talking about why are we keeping these guys? We're keeping these guys because because they're young, they're not veterans, and they need to
develop. That's the word you're looking for. Develop.
Man. We got to give them time.
Kevin, let me ask you, where is the scoring going to come from? Julius Randle had 17 points, 17 or 19 points tonight. I don't know what it was. Something like that. RJ Barrett had 25.
So
Julius Randle had 18. RJ Barrett had 25. Alec Burks had 15. Nobody else even came, everybody else is 3, 4, 8, 2, 5, 4, 2, 3, 2.
All I'm saying is that we should not give up on these guys. You can say everything till the cows come home about, we need more scoring. You were just saying before about I forget what you were saying before we came on.
Listen, I agree. I'm not giving up on the team. I'm just asking you, where is the scoring going to come from? Where are we going to find people that can go out and get us a bucket on this team?
Outside of outside of RJ and Julius Randle, where is the scoring going to come from?
It could come from Knox. It could come from Knox. He had a bad game today. He had a bad game. I mean, but it could come from him. We've seen what he could do scoring the basketball
consistently.
I mean,
of course we're hoping that Obi. We're hoping that Obi. One second, Evergreen. We're hoping that Obi is going to be able to step in and provide a scoring punch. Right, and that's what we need. That's what we hope. That he's going to be able to provide a scoring punch. But he's a rookie and he's unfounded right now. So we still just got to wait to see what he can do consistently.
Yeah, but the way Josh is talking, he's talking about get rid of these guys and get somebody in here who can score. I mean, come on.
My goodness.
Listen, while I get what Josh is saying. Wow, this is the second time I've actually agreed with Josh. Jesus. I get what Josh is saying. I just think that this conversation is very, very premature. Like this is not the time. Like how many new players do we have on this team from last year? You know what I mean? Like this is not the time to have this conversation. I mean, last game, Nerlens Noel had 10 points. Easy 10 points.
He did.
You know what I mean? Like they weren't tough baskets to get. And it's clear that we went away from that. Right?
Exactly.
It's almost like Thibodeau, either Detroit had a hell of a bunch of adjustments or Thibodeau purposely said, let's see what the youth can do in the second unit. But see, in the first game, it wasn't like they were looking for Nerlens Noel. So it wasn't like they ran plays specifically for him. It was like, someone penetrated and he got a dump off or he got a put back or something like that. I'm just looking at what I see right now, and I'm just not sure. I see guys that could be gritty, guys that could be scrappy. I think we're going to be a good defensive squad. I'm just not sure if we're going to be able to manifest points.
And Evergreen, and this is the comparison from last season, because you're saying we have a whole bunch of new guys on the team. The new guys that we have on the team, for the most part, are stopgap players, just like from last season. Stopgap players, no one that can really make a difference as far as scoring is concerned. It's like the same type of players that are kind of mediocre. They play a role on the team and stuff like that. It's the same scenario from last seson. And the Knicks.
One at a time.
He's making my blood boil. I'm sorry. He's making my blood boil.
I know.
Kev, you got it. Kev's already on 10, so like you can't say anything. He's like you can't say anything. He's already on 10.
But sometimes you just get tired of hearing all the negative stuff of what we are and what we're not. That's
what are you talking about then?
And I'm coming to you as a fan of my, as a fan. That's how I'm coming at it.
But I get why you're upset, because the Steelers are losing right now too, so I understand why you're upset. But Kev, what I'm trying to say is, what are we talking about? That's what we're breaking down the team and we're breaking down the game. What are we talking about? You think there's something positive to come from this game? What's positive?
Well, I think there are. I definitely think there are positives to come from the game. We lost the game, but there are positives. I mean, we were able to fight back from being down 15 points actually in the second quarter. Right? We were down 15 points. We were able to climb back and take the lead in the second half. We were able to spotlight one player, and say, he's hot, let's get him the ball. I mean, that takes a team effort to do it. RJ played a great game tonight.
Yes, absolutely.
He had turnovers, but he played a great game tonight.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So, I mean, those are some things that I think you can definitely take away from tonight.
But okay, outside of that, I mean, what are we talking about? This is what we expected. We expected RJ Barrett to be that guy. That's what I've been saying since day one. RJ Barrett needs to be that guy. He needs to lead the team in scoring. That's That's where we want him to be. And his next level in his development is to take over that mantle, especially once Randall gets traded or once he leaves. So all of those are positives. Don't get me wrong. But outside of that, I mean, we expected this. We had to expect that this team wasn't going to be good as far as scoring. We had to expect that, guys. I've been saying that. And like, Kev, like, where's the scoring going to come from? We like, you saying Knox, but where is it at?
All right, let's talk about RJ's game, and I'm gonna come to Knot for this one. So you know, I'm gonna come to Knot. I'm about to unmute you right now. RJ Barrett tonight. Let's take a look at the box score real quick. RJ Barrett tonight. He was 10 for 17 from the field, 58.8%. Shot 58.8%. He was 1 for 5 from 3. He was 4 for 5 from the free throw line. He had 4 rebounds, 2 assists. He did have 4 turnovers. Scored 25 points. Now, I don't know if you got something playing in the background or whatever it is. I'm going to unmute you one more time because there was a lot of noise back there. Talk to me about RJ Barrett and how you felt about RJ Barrett. Gotta unmute yourself now. There you go.
He gave us good energy. Last game, we started off bad. Came back in the second half last game. We got the win. You know, he shot after shot, he made it. Third quarter, fourth quarter, he kept us in the game, got us the win. This game, towards the end, he missed the layup. We was close in the game. We was down 6, we was down 4. We could have kept momentum. He missed the layup, momentum shift. You know what I mean? But RJ had a really great game, man. This is what I want to see from him, day in and day out. Putting up 20 points, giving us 4 assists, whatever stats he gave us. But this is what we want from our sophomore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But he can't start games 0 for 6, 1 for 3, or 0 for 2, 0 for 3 on the 3-point line, 1 for 3 on the free throw line. He gotta make those shots that he's open and giving, man. You know what I mean? As our sophomore, as our young guy going forward.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. All right. Now, see, I look at what he did tonight. I see, we have a super chat where someone asked a question. Do you see this as an improvement for RJ or is it just a good game? I see it as, listen, he played better than he played the last game. It's an improvement. You know what I mean? You could have been knocking the rust off. Anything. He improved. Can he do it against Cleveland next week? We'll find out. But I'm just glad that he improved this game. He still shot the 3. He was 1 for 3 from the 3-point line. But he took good shots. He didn't force any crazy shots. He took all good shots. I would like to see him get more assists. Right, he had 2 assists tonight. I'd like to see him get more assists. He has the ability to, and I'd like to see him, start to manufacture more assists in the game. Now, there were a couple of times where he made some good passes, and guys, maybe fumbled it out of bounds or missed the layups. Right, other guys to play tonight. Well, everybody played tonight, not other guys to play. Other numbers from tonight's game. Julius Randle was 4 for 11 from the field, 1 for 3 from the 3-point line. He was 9 for 12 from the free throw line. He was getting to the line. He shot 75%. That's good. He had 6 rebounds, 5 assists, and he also had 5 turnovers. RJ, our 2 leaders out there, RJ and Julius, combined for 9 turnovers tonight. These 2 guys have the ball in their hands. They can't combine for 9 turnovers. Julius is going to give you 2 off the bat of just being out there on the floor, right? You can't combine for 9 turnovers. It's going to be tough to win that way. Nerlens Noel, he didn't play the same way he played the other night, but he did have 10 rebounds. He had 1 block. He only had 3 points on the night. But I fully expect that Noel is going to be the starting center. I don't care what Tom Thibodeau says. I think Noel is going to be the starting center. Yep. All right, Alec Burks tonight, he had 15 points. He was 3 for 5 from the 3-point line. Elfrid Payton, 4 points, only 2 assists tonight for Elfrid Payton. Julius Randle actually led the team in assists. That shouldn't be. It should be Elfrid Payton. It doesn't always have to be, but it should be. Mitchell Robinson, he almost fouled out. He had five fouls tonight. At one point, he had 5 fouls in 12 minutes.
Terrible.
Right? He ended up playing 19 minutes.
Terrible.
Ended up playing 19 minutes. He had 8 points, 5 rebounds. No block shots on the night. Dennis Smith Jr., he's struggling being that facilitator out there on the floor. He had 2 points. 1 rebound, 3 assists. Reggie Bullock, he had 5 points, 1 for 7 from the three-point line. Obi Toppin, he had a rough outing. That's okay. He had 4 points, 4 rebounds. Kevin Knox, he had 2 points. Frank Ntilikina, he played 11 minutes tonight. He had 3 points. And Emmanuel Quickly, he got some minutes tonight. He had played 9 minutes. He had 2 points, right? But I think we're going to see some more of Emmanuel Quickly. I think we'll see some more of him. I do want to ask you guys, what did you feel about, there was about 5 minutes. There was about 5 minutes in the second quarter, I think it was, where it was Obi Toppin and Julius Randle on the floor together. It was a small lineup, right? And those two guys were, I guess, alternating between the 4 and the 5. Josh, I'll start with you, and then I'm going to get to Evergreen and Kev. How'd you feel about seeing those two together on the floor?
What was the question again? I'm sorry. I was responding to the chat.
It was Obi Toppin and Julius Randle were on the floor together for a little while tonight, for about 5 minutes. How'd you feel about it?
So, Sam, I mentioned it the last show. I said Julius Randle and Obi Toppin, that might be something Knicks want to go to just to get some more scoring. Okay, I mentioned that the last time. It doesn't look that bad. Like having Randle at the 5 and Obi at the 4, it doesn't really look that bad. Now, defensively, it is probably a liability. You know what I'm saying? But offensively, that's something that the Knicks might want to go to just to get some points on the board, because it's not going to come from the guard spot. It's not going to come from the guard spot. And I'm talking about if RJ plays a 3, the guards are not really going to give us that much scoring.
Well, it didn't really manifest. It didn't really manifest into a lot of points tonight, but that's okay. I mean, it was a first. It was a first look, and as you guys can see, every once in a while you get a word stuck in your head and you like to use it. I've been using manifest tonight. I don't know why. It just happened. Maybe I was reading something and I seen manifest, and so now I'm using manifest tonight. But it didn't manifest into many points tonight between the two. I will say. I was expecting the worst defensively when I seen them out there together.
And you didn't see the worst.
And I didn't see the worst. Right? So then it made me say, okay, maybe we can see this a little bit more. Let's see how it could go. Because one thing I did notice, Randle was able to get a shot or two off without a bunch of guys around him. Obi, I'm not sure if he got a shot off during that time. I think maybe he took a really deep 3. Right, so there would be a lot of kinks that they'd have to work out between the two. Right, but I'm willing to look at it a little bit more from the 4 and the 5 spot. Not the 3 and the 4, but the 4 and the 5. Yep. I'm willing to look at it a little bit more. Evergreen, what did you think, man? Let me get you unmuted. You got to unmute yourself.
Okay, so I want to see them both playing if we're going on a big man lineup. Meaning I don't want to see them both playing at Randle at the 5 and Obi at the 4, just because I think when you start getting into other teams, they're going to be a huge defensive liability. What was it? Who's the center that from Detroit that was cooking us today? What is his name? I think it starts with an A. Obondu. What's his name?
Oh, the
African dude.
Dembayu. Sekou Dembayu. He was cooking.
Okay,
he was cooking today.
He was cooking today, right? And I think if I remember correctly, there was it was for like the 3 minutes that we had that small lineup in that he got into a nice little rhythm and run. But my point is that I want to see if we can do that with a big man lineup, meaning Mitch or Nerlens at the 5, Randle at the 4, Obi at the 3,
way through,
and RJ at the 2 and whatever point guard at the 1, and we use that as a way to bruise on the boards. Bruise on the boards and bruise and clean up. Smash your way into the paint, bruise on the boards and bruise and clean up. I don't feel like I have enough of a sample size to say whether the lineup that was ran with Randall at the 5 and Obi at the 4 is good or not, because we played the same team twice. Now, if we would have played that, if we did that lineup consistently, last game and this game, I think I would have enough of a sample size to say, hey, we played the same team twice. And when we had this lineup in, this is what the analytics say. But I don't think I have enough. I don't think anybody has enough. Maybe if we do the same thing against Cleveland, right, and we see what these guys can do against Andre Drummond, right? Is it Andre Drummond and what's his name's over there still too, right? Jesus Christ, what's their other power forward's name?
Kevin Love.
Play with LeBron. Kevin Love. Right? We'll see what they can do if they run that lineup. What can they do against those two bigs? But I'm not sure if right now is a good enough call to say, hey, this was good, this was great. Even let's try it. You know what I mean? Right. Give me game 10 of Thibodeau doing that lineup consistent. Give me 10 games of Thibodeau using that lineup on more than one occasion in a row. You know what I mean? And I'll say, hey, we might have something good. At least we do know out of that Obi is definitely willing to shoot that ball. Right?
He's going to shoot it, and he shoots it.
He's going to shoot the ball. And I would, and it's good that he's, we can see some stretch 4 abilities there. But am I willing to say, let's turn him from a stretch 4 to a slashing shooting 3 with the lineup that I projected, with having them both on the floor, him and Randall on the floor? Like I said, I just don't know. But I do not want to supplement small ball offense for bad Randall defense. I'm not ready for that yet. Like that, in order for me to want to do that, the entire offense has to be clicking on that small ball issue. Right. You know what I mean? Like, I need Randall to be getting all of his points down the paint. I need Obi to be hitting consistently from the outside when he's stretching the floor. There can't be a point guard. Like, the point guard has to be the most important guy during that whole thing. And we can't experiment with that if we don't have the point guard position established and the point guards are being super indecisive like they were today. Like, there was I'd rather you make a wrong decision than to not make a decision at all. And that's what I felt like. There was no decisions on a point guard side that were being made at all. So,
okay. Yeah. All right. Kev, what do you think about, how do you feel about that lineup that was together with Obi and Julius on the floor at the same time?
Well, I think we can dismay the notion that it could not work, because now I believe that it can. I liked it. It was a good look. I think it could be real profitable for us going forward. I think in some situations, it could really, really help us. And I'm glad Tibbs, tried it out, because we were asking that. And I like what you said about the 4-5 and not the 4-3. I think the 4-5 is that will work out a little bit better for us, against some matches. Right. When you look at when we play games, I guess, against like Philly or Milwaukee or out west Utah, that's not going to work for us. We're going to need that height per se. But yeah, I think this could this could work out. And I agree with Evergreen. We're going to need some really good guard play in order for that to happen as well. So that's pretty much it.
Yeah, and I think you're going to need not just good guard play, but good guard defense for that to be successful. Just knowing, both guys have some holes on the defensive side of the floor. There's no doubt about it. No two ways to get around it. They both got some holes. But if you got guards that are really good at pressuring up the ball, making it difficult for other guards, for their opposing guys to get up the floor and dribble up the floor, then maybe you can get away with it a little bit more.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And again, I go to when you're talking about pressuring up the floor. I know Peyton's good at it, and we know Frank is good at it as well. So, right. So either one of those guys, it would be nice. I mean, we're all talking about how we would like to see what Quickly can do, at the one and everything. I think he can be successful as well, but at least pressuring Peyton and Frank can get that done for you.
Yeah. Now let's not discount Dennis Smith Jr. though. Okay. And I'm saying that because Dennis Smith Jr., in my opinion, was playing good defense today. And I think he played good defense last game. I can see him making an effort to really play defense, and I think he has the athletic ability to be a good defender. Right? I have not been upset with his defense, and I'm not upset with what he's doing on offense either. I just feel like he's struggling to be a facilitator right now. He's trying. He's thinking when he's on the floor. You can see him. He's not playing his natural game. He's thinking about leading the team. You heard Tom Thibodeau say we want him focusing on being the leader on his team, right? Facilitating for his team. And I feel like right now he's just struggling just a little bit.
Yeah, and it seems like Tibbs is really taking I don't know if you want to say taking an interest or really trying to instill that confidence and that direction for him. Because I do see him with Dennis Smith, DSJ a lot, quite frankly, go ahead.
I think that something that he realizes is that Dennis Smith Jr. offers something that we don't have from any of our other point guards, and that's explosiveness and the ability to score the basketball and really get inside the lane and be a threat and put pressure on the defense. But he also wants to get him to do some of those other things as well and not just be that guy.
And you know what else, Sam? I also see on the sideline the assistant coach from Utah. I see him talking with Dennis Smith a lot on the sideline as well. What was his name? Bryant? I think his last name is
Johnny Bryant. He's the associate head coach, Johnny Bryant.
Yeah, I see him talking with DSJ a lot. So that's good. I mean, and again, this is stuff that, again, we haven't seen with other coaching staffs, the way they're really. You
can go ahead and say Fizdale. Don't worry about it. They're not watching. They're not watching. So, he's not going to come after you.
Oh, no, not at all. But Fizdale, Hornacek, even Derek Fisher's reign. You're not seeing the real hands-on that you're seeing now. I mean, it seems like
I get it.
Each person, each member of the coaching staff is taking a special interest.
Yeah.
In all these players.
Hey, let me get to this phone call, Kev. Caller, you live, man. Do me a favor. Can you turn that down in the back?
Yeah, my bad. Hold on. Right there. Yeah.
Yo, what's going on with you, brother? How you feeling?
Everything good. I wasn't really hearing on the phone what y'all was saying right now, but I feel good, man. Like I'm not ready to get negative now because of this game right here. I mean, I ain't no summertime soldier. I'm an all-weather.
Right. Nah, I mean, listen, I'm not feeling bad either. You know what I mean? I'm not feeling bad at all. And I'm going to tell you the reason why. Because I can see what they are doing and trying to do defensively. I feel like they're a team that will be scrappy, can be scrappy, a team that's going to play hard the entire game. What'd you say?
But I felt like they lost some intensity this game, though.
They did.
On the defense.
When they came out, when they came out in the first half, they lost some intensity, and I'm pretty sure Tom Thibodeau laid it into their ass at halftime, and they came out and they started playing defense. They started scrapping up. I feel like this is a team that will scrap up.
Exactly.
For Tom Thibodeau, it's going to be, how do I get these guys to do that every single possession?
Exactly, and to me, that's what this year is about, and I just like, that's why I'm calling in. And I mean, is like, because I feel that we had that all in mind. That's what you've been speaking to us. That's what the whole fan community has been behind this whole 9 months. But what happened was, when they won yesterday, 2 days ago, we got hyped, and then our expectations, I think, went up to a different level. To me, what this year is all about is building the system. I respect the process that Tim Thibodeau is trying to lay down in New York Knicks. I respect that process. And I want to, not to say that I'm not going to have opinions, not to say we're not going to have opinions, but I respect the process. I want to see that happen. And, like, to me, I'm not even mad because, have you ever read The Art of War?
I have not read the entire thing, but I've read some of it, yeah.
So, like, one of the basic things in The Art of War is they talk about, like, when you setting up your army, right? And they gave this example of, like, he had the generals, he took, like, a bunch of like the women who worked in like in his chambers and stuff, like, to make them the army. And he's like, yo, you could make this the best army ever. And here's how to do it. So he gave them instructions, right? They didn't do it right. Then he was like, oh, it's my fault. Like, I have to give clear instructions. So he gave clear instructions. Again, it didn't happen. Then he chopped off the heads of the people who he had set up as, like, the generals under him. You know what I mean? And then it was like the next leader come up. Then it was like a whole different attitude, and they followed everything correct. So to me, the point of reason why I said that is that's why I'm not mad about having the vet start. Like, when he lays the system down, there's going to be examples made. Heads are going to be rolling by the end of this. Or hopefully not. Maybe everyone's just going to get in line. You know what I mean? But I would much rather see Obi Toppin. I still got hope in Kevin Knox, although he didn't do it today. You know what I mean? Or RJ, all them. I'd much rather see them fight for their spots. Like, they all going to have playing time in the rotation, but I'd much rather see them fight for their playing spots, and get raised up, other than being in the fear of getting demoted the whole time.
Right.
Like, I think that's an important thing to think when you just think of their psyche. And then last is just on the question of Randall. To me, everybody is going to be, like, kind of growing and changing their game and all that type of thing. I'm not like, I don't really like Randall. I get tight about the spins and all that, but I'm not going to go 100% for trading him right now. Because my question to everybody who's about trading him is, do you see the Knicks as a 501c3 charity organization? Like, that's the question. If you have a deal where it's gonna be a come up, then I'm with that. But if you don't have that, then please don't come talking about that. Because what I've seen from him so far is that he's with the program. So that means to say that he's doing what he's doing now. But when it's time for him, if he got to come off the bench, he's gonna do whatever And I'm not mad about if Obi does his thing and we have Randall as our second, like, our off the bench forward, because it's not like we don't need that type of thing. So so that I ain't gonna talk you to death, but like. That's just what I'm saying. I think we got to respect the process and not, like, we went with, like, when the wind blew one way 2 days ago, we was going this way. When the wind blew this, you know what I mean? Like, stop it.
Nah, I feel you, man.
Right.
I feel you. Appreciate it, bro.
Yo, I appreciate you, man. Keep on doing what you're doing. Keep pushing, brother.
No doubt. Peace. And, just Julius Randle. Let's talk about Julius Randle for a minute. I'm going to get you one more call, then we're going to talk about Julius Randle for a minute. All right? Caller, you live. What's popping?
Hey, what's going on, fellas? How y'all doing? First time listening to your show.
Appreciate you, my man.
You know what I realized tonight? I'm sorry?
No, I said I appreciate you, brother.
All right, cool. You know what I realized tonight? I've got PTSD from Julius Randle, man.
Okay.
Every time the brother touches the ball, I see turnover. I see a bad decision. I see turnover, and it's just the second preseason game. I really, really don't want to complain or anything like that. But if this trade that may have been on the table for Hield is still around, as much as I love Frank, I say let's do it. We need a definitive shooter, and I like what Burks did tonight. But, I don't know Burks that well. I don't know if he can do it consistently. I know Hield can do it consistently. I just feel like there's a log jam. The ball needs to move.
So you don't think there would be another? So you don't think there would be another log jam with Buddy Hield?
I don't think so. Because you're spreading the floor. You're opening up lanes for RJ, and you got somebody, because you got to respect Hield out there on that line. Right now, that zone told us we don't think you can hit the shot consistently, and the zone really messed us up tonight. We came out looking like a high school team when they threw in that 2-3 zone. We didn't know what to do. At one point, you saw somebody flash at the free throw line, and I was like, "That's it. Do a little high-low there." So they didn't seem to do that.
So here's what happened. The first time they went into the zone, as soon as they went to the zone, Julius Randle flashed to the elbow. I think he flashed to the. Well, I can't even say what side of the court it was on, so I don't know. I don't want to say left or right. He flashed to the elbow. He caught the ball. He turned. He looked. He took one dribble. He kicked it out to RJ. RJ missed the three, but it was a good shot. Right? It was a wide open shot. It was a good shot. And if he starts to knock that down, they're gonna respect it. All right. Another time, Julius Randle caught the ball at that elbow. He tried to go to the basket. He got fouled. He went to the line. All right. Now, the zone did have the team a little bit confused, right? They were swinging the ball, trying to find an open shot. I think Burks hit one in the corner in the first half. Off of, he got past the ball in the corner. It was kind of off of a broken play a little bit, and he made that one. Right, but what they're gonna have to do is understand. All right, where am I gonna put Burks? They're in the zone. There's some guys that can knock down the three. They're in the zone. Okay, well, let me take out this guy and let me put Reggie Bullock in the game and Alec Burks in the game at the same time. Right? And let those two guys be on the wings, because both of those guys can knock down the three, and they've proven that they can knock down the three.
And you know what? You're right. Bullock can hit that shot. He just didn't hit it tonight, but he can hit that shot. I got frustrated with his. I think he was 1 for 6 or 1 for 7 from three. But you know what? He can hit that shot, and he will hit that shot. And I like Quickly. I like
and Quickly can hit the shot.
I didn't know Quickly. Like you guys watch. I don't watch college ball much anymore these days. But I like Quickly. I like what I saw. He's somebody who can run the floor. This kid can run. And they say he can shoot the three. I don't know, but they say he can shoot the three.
He can shoot the three.
So I love seeing him. He was exciting.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think the zone did have us confused in that first half, but I do think we have some guys that can stretch that zone out. And Reggie Bullock, and obviously you see Alec Burks tonight. It just so happened that at that point in the game, Alec Burks was in the game, I think, but maybe not Reggie Bullock. Well, I don't even want to say maybe not. Reggie Bullock wasn't in the game. But if you put him in the game with Alec Burks and they're on opposite sides of the floor, now you got some guys that can stretch that floor out, right? And then you get a big man in the middle, another big man running that baseline, and you're doing something with that zone. And that, I think, will come in a little bit more time. They threw the zone out there. Tibbs maybe was like, let me see what these guys do with the zone. Right. Let's see how we handle it. Instead of just going ahead and saying, let me put this guy out there and let me put this guy out there, knowing that you can break it. I think maybe it's like, let's see how they handle it. Let's see what they do.
It was a great call by the Detroit coach to run that zone. It was a great call.
Yep, good call.
One more thing before you let me go. Yo, did the arrival of Nerlens, is that shaking Mitch? Because Mitch doesn't look like himself at all. I mean, he's he's completely lost on the offensive end. Mitch is a liability on the offensive end. If you're not giving him an alley-oop, he's hurting you on the floor.
Yeah,
he doesn't flash. No, he did flash to the basket one time, and he caught, a nice little, and he flushed it. That was the first time I've ever seen him do that. I've never seen him go to the basket when somebody else is driving to the basket.
Yeah.
So, but I want him to take a big step. I know he's still young. I just want him to take a big step. I think him and Nerlens can work well together.
Yeah, I think with Mitch, I think that teams understand what they want to do. They want to run a screen and roll and try to find lobs for Mitch. And it's really messing them up because so far the Pistons have done it. We'll see what happens with other teams. But they've jammed it inside and said, we're going to make you go elsewhere. We're not going to let you get that lob to Mitch. And because Mitch is limited offensively, there's not much more he can do if he has the ball in his hands. Now, he's had the ball once or twice in a position where he could have shot the three, and he didn't. I don't think he feels confident enough, or maybe because Noel is there, he's like, man, if I shoot this up and I shoot an air ball, if I do something, coach not going to like it.
Right.
But I think he's got to shoot it anyway. He's got to. He's got to shoot it anyway.
Now, I don't want to see him turn into a stretch five. I think his value is in the paint, but whatever happens. I mean, I appreciate you taking my call and have a good show, bro.
All right, appreciate you, man.
Can I say something real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
Real quick, in regards to Mitch, and this is what I've been saying. Mitchell Robinson is limited offensively, and he's also limited defensively. But we're talking about this guy like he was going to be the cornerstone of this team. Like we need to build around him. But that's the issue right there. We overrated Mitchell Robinson. Mitchell Robinson is really not all of that. You know what I'm saying? So that's what the issue is. It's not the fact that Nerlens Noel came in. It's the fact that Mitchell Robinson is who he is, and we're hoping that he can get better. But we're talking about building around this guy and getting ready to pay him a contract. Where is it at? I mean, I want to see where the development is at. I don't see any of it. Not even close.
Well, let's see what happens as we get further along in the season.
It's early,
right?
It's early.
It's early. Let's see what happens. But I mean, Mitch has a lot. Listen, I've always been one. There's been a lot of people that say I'm a Mitch hater, right? And that I didn't like Mitchell Robinson. And it's never been that I didn't like Mitchell Robinson. I like all the players on the team. You know what I mean? I just felt that Mitchell Robinson needed to add some things to his game, and that he was just like super duper raw and lacked some of the nuances and small things, minute details of the game because he was young. So when I said he shouldn't start, people were like, oh, you just don't like Mitch. And I was like, that's not the reason why. But, Mitch himself said he doesn't really care if he starts or not. He's just going to go out there and play. And that's okay if he doesn't.
12 minutes, Sam.
Huh?
5,012.
Right. 5,012 minutes. That's not going to be every night, though. That's not going to be every night. That's tonight, but it's not going to be every night.
That was also against a center that was cooking.
Yeah.
They definitely attacked him. They made it a point to attack him in the very beginning. I don't know if it's because they know what he's capable of defensively, but even I will say that once he got those 5 fouls and Tibbs said, nope, you're staying in, his defense was a lot more disciplined, and it's almost like that level of trial by fire is what Mitchell Robinson actually needs, as opposed to what we've been doing with him for the last 2 years, where you're forcefully giving him that bailout when he gets his 4th foul in the 3rd quarter and he doesn't see the floor. He's not learning anything.
Yep. So
he needs to be able to get to that point where he's at 5 fouls. This way he can forcefully be a little bit more cognizant of exactly the ramifications of what's going to happen as soon as he gets that other foul. Like, I don't know how many games Mitchell Robinson has actually fouled out, right? I'm sure we can find that out somehow. Maybe somebody in the YouTube chat will be so kind to find that out. But I would say that it's probably minimal. It's probably very little, So the guy has got to learn somehow. He's not going to learn by getting to 4 fouls and then being snatched out of the game and sat on the bench until, the last 2 minutes of the game when he can come back in. So I like that Tom Thibodeau kept his butt in there and said, nope, you're going to play this out and you're going to learn defense the right way, or else the game, the officials, I'm not going to take you out. The officials are going to take you out.
Exactly.
Let the officials take him out.
Yeah.
And his defense was a hell of a lot more disciplined at that fifth foul. I want to say it was a play where he was standing in the paint and I think Sadiq Bey was trying to push him around in the paint. He just kind of stood there, hands up, and kind of leaned on him a little bit. And no, not Sadiq Bey. Jeremy Grant was trying to bully his way inside the paint, and Mitch just stood there with his hands up, and it was like, yep, Jeremy Grant missed a shot. And then you can see he kind of like glanced over at Tibbs, and Tibbs is like, all right, keep going. You know what I mean? That's what we need. Yeah. That's what Mitch needs on a defensive end. I promise you, if you give Mitchell Robinson 2 more times of fouling out, 2 more times of actually fouling out, not like being bailed out, but 2 times of actually fouling out this year, and it might click in his head, because it definitely clicked today at 5 fouls, and he stayed in there. You know?
And listen, he had 5 fouls in 12 minutes, 0 fouls in 7 minutes.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because he was a little bit more disciplined. Look, I coached this kid one time, right? He was a defensive demon. Demon. Right? And, when you got people who play aggressive defense, now Mitch is jumpy. You know what I'm saying? Like, you see what happened with Blake Griffin. I don't think they should have called a flagrant foul, right? Because he wasn't intentionally trying to hurt him. He just got caught in the air, right? And Mitch doesn't have control of all of his limbs yet. You know what I mean? And so he smacked him up in the face. But I had this kid, man, and we were in Atlanta. No. Yeah, we were in Atlanta in a tournament. And he's a defensive demon, right? As a matter of fact, I had a team that we were so crazy. Like, defensively, we would get 5 to 6 steals in a row, like, frequently. Right, and have fast break layups, but we were so terrible offensively. We'd get 5 or 6 steals by 3 different guys, but none of them could make layups. So we'd make 1 or 2 layups out of all those steals, right? And so the games would always be close. And we were in Atlanta. We were playing this team. This team had players from North Carolina, Georgia, South Carolina, Virginia. They had all these players on one team, right? And we were getting busted in the first half. He was playing his heart out. He had 4 fouls. You only get 5 fouls. He had 4 fouls. So I pull him out the game. He's like, it's first half, and he's going crazy. Threw his shirt down on the floor, and I'm like, I don't want to say his name, but I'm like, what is your problem? He's like, why are you taking me out? It's only 17 seconds. The game is over. I was like, said his name. I was like, it's the first half. He's like, oh, it's only the first half. I was like, yeah. He's like, I got 4 fouls in the first half. I was like, yes, you have 4 fouls in the first half. Yes. Right? But you know what? He didn't foul in the second half at all. And we came back and won the game. We were losing by like 10 to 15 points. We came back and won because he played disciplined defense. And I had to keep him on the floor. We only had 6 players. Right? So I had to play him. We came back and won. It kind of reminds me of Mitch. Like, he's got to learn how to be disciplined. And some things like Evergreen just described would help him to stay disciplined. He's got to learn to discipline himself. But Julius Randle, man, let's talk about Julius Randle. So many people all day long. The game doesn't even have to start yet. And I see the tweets. And I know he frustrates a lot of people. He frustrates me. He frustrates me. Right? But there's no doubt about it, to me, in my opinion, that the Knicks are better when he's on the floor. And people are going to disagree with me. And people are going to say no. People are going to say, no, they're not. No, they're not. No, they're not. Yes, they are. You know what I'm saying? He may frustrate you, and he gets himself in trouble where he gets 3 guys around him, right? But they're better when he's on the floor. They get the shots that they get open when he's on the floor. If people would really go back and look at how many times R.J. Barrett gets a wide open 3 at the top of the key because Julius Randle brought 4 guys to him, people would be surprised if they really went back and looked at the tape. But it really does truly happen, guys. It may not look pretty, and that's the thing. It doesn't look pretty at all. right? But we really do get a lot of guys get wide open threes. Why do you think he had 5 assists tonight? And he led the team in assists because he draws a lot of attention. And then when he's able to kick it out, now the problem is sometimes he doesn't always get that kick out in time, and he gets trapped and he turns the ball over. But they're a better team when he's on the floor. People are gonna throw hate at me. That's cool. I get it.
Sim, they had a lot of wide open looks today. They just miss shots. They don't have anyone outside of RJ Barrett and Randall to put the ball in the basket consistently. But if you look at the game, they had a lot of good looks. They just could not knock the shots down. Like that was the reality of the game. If the Knicks wouldn't knock down half the shots that they missed, or even a third, the Knicks would have won this game today.
Mm-hmm. And you know, it's gonna be. I'm just waiting for that time when Randall is not there, and everyone is waiting for RJ and want RJ to go off for 50, like Randall is hurt or has an ankle sprain or something, and he's out. And they're gonna see. They will see it, because then they're gonna, then it's all gonna be on RJ, and people are hoping Obi, right? But from some of the things that I've seen from Obi today, there's gonna be a little while, I think, before he can impose his will against tough NBA defense. I think he's gonna need a little bit of time to do that, and I could see it tonight. When Detroit was playing a little bit tougher defense, they knew, okay, maybe this guy could do a little something. It's a little bit different for him. So he'll be okay. I'm not saying he's not going to be okay. I'm not saying anything about Obi. He's, his second preseason game, he's going to be fine. And I think he's going to be really, 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 really good. But it might take, he's going to have to get used to the speed and the strength of the NBA. But when that happens, everyone's going to look and want RJ to drop 50. They have to try to win the game. And that and right. You know what I'm saying? Because those are the only two guys that can realistically right now, can get the ball and get to the line or get a bucket.
Yep.
The only two guys that can do that, and if they get the ball, you have a chance of getting the bucket. Look at the second unit when they came in the game. They almost didn't have a clue as where to go with the ball to try to score. Yep. They were moving and swinging, and everyone will say, oh, look, there's so much ball movement. No, they were looking to find a shot, bro. It wasn't that it was so much ball movement, right? They were swinging and moving the ball because they couldn't get a shot off. They were struggling and finding ways to get a shot. And they didn't know where to go. They were a little bit lost. And maybe they'll find their way as a unit. You know what I'm saying? And I'm hoping that they will. I think they will. Defensively, they got a ways to go. But maybe they'll find a way as a unit. But they were struggling to find a shot. Why? Because they didn't have that one person that they knew could draw the defense's attention. Obi's not that guy yet.
Not yet.
Not yet. He's not that guy yet. Once he proves that he's definitely that guy and he can get the ball and get fouled or go to the basket, or whatever at any time, then he's going to start to draw defenses where he can kick the ball out and make the defense have to shift, and then we get an open shot. But we don't have anybody else besides those two guys that can draw defenses.
Hey, remember a couple of days ago, I made a comparison to a certain player, and people wanted to bite my head off. And I said, Randall is like Charles Barkley. And it's starting to show even more to this day. All right. Like, I'm not saying Randall is the new Charles Barkley, but I'm saying their games can be put next to each other. Right. We can't expect for Randall to do guard stuff, right? We want him to have the ball down in transition. We want him to run off of, be the recipient off of pick and rolls, running down into the paint. That's what we want. But that's not going to happen until we can space the floor. It's not going to happen consistently until we can space the floor. I'm just looking at the chat and I'm seeing a lot of people saying that, it's not out of it. It's a bad comparison. It's not, he's not the guy to do that. I'm telling you, once we have the ability to start to slowly and surely space the floor and start having these other players provide a little bit of respect from beyond 10 feet, that game that we want Randall to have, it's going to expose itself. It's going to show what he's actually got. Just watch. As soon as Reggie Bullock is not the only person that's consistently shooting threes, until our point guard is respectable with being able to move off of a screen and roll and being the holder of the ball on a screen and roll and hitting that jump shot on the outside of the screen and roll, that's when you're going to start to see what Randall and RJ alike can do. Yeah. That's when you're going to start seeing it. But right now, everyone is crashing into the paint. There's no space. So Randall is forced to do crazy stuff right now.
Let me jump in there. And sometimes Randall gets into the paint and gets in the way, though, right? Like, for example, DSJ found RJ in the middle of the paint. Right, and then Randall ran down there to try to get the rebound instead of staying. Let RJ get the shot off first, and then try to come in and get the rebound. Right, but he ran down in there, and then it cramped up the paint. Decisions like that drive you crazy. When he does those type of things, it'll drive you crazy. But I do want to tell the people in the chat, because he referenced Charles Barkley does not mean that he's comparing him to Charles Barkley. There's two different things. Please understand, when you say someone's game, when you reference someone's style of play, does not mean you're saying that person is that player. Referencing a style of play, I can look at 10-year-old kids and be like, oh, he's got like a Brandon Ingram type of game. It does not mean that I'm saying that kid is as good as Brandon Ingram. I'm saying he has that style of play. Please don't start running in the chat and say, oh my God, he said Barkley, that Randall is Barkley, and Barkley is a Hall of Famer, and Barkley is an MVP candidate. He didn't say that Randall was Barkley. He mentioned the style of play. Please understand that, ladies and gentlemen. Come on,
now you know how I feel.
No, listen, Josh. I already knew how you feel, right? Like, but my thing is people don't want to, like, this is what we have as Knicks fans, is people don't want to. They're so emotionally attached, which rightfully so. Like, I'm emotionally attached to that. They can't take. They can't just take in the information without attaching the emotion behind it, right? Like, I say Barkley because I talk about what Randall is actually good at. I'm not referencing what he's bad at, because when you talk about great players, you don't talk about what they're bad at, do you?
Right.
You don't say, man, Charles Barkley couldn't shoot. He should be in the Hall of Fame. You don't say that. You talk about what Charles Barkley was good at. I'm talking about what Julius Randle is good at. Julius Randle is good at the same things that Charles Barkley is good at. Am I saying that Julius Randle is going to be an all-star, a 10-time all-star Hall of Fame guy? No, I'm not saying that. I'm simply saying that when you look at their games, you can compare what they're good at within their games. And we would hope that with the current skill set that Julius Randle has, that he could potentially become that Charles Barkley based off of his skill sets, right? He has the ability to be successful out of that. But right now, we don't have the same type of team that Charles Barkley had, which made him successful. On top of that, the game has changed from then to be able to make an accurate comparison for both of them in the now. Like, the game is full of, the game is everyone's jacking and shooting threes. We don't need to jack and shoot. Like, Julius Randle doesn't need to be the guy jacking and shooting threes. He still can play in that bruiser, downhill, in the paint, power forward, traditional position. And he's got a little bit of handle, a little bit outside of the spinning. Like, let's not act like he doesn't have the ability to be that type of player right now.
Let me ask y'all a question, right? Because we talk about shooting and the Knicks needing to add more shooting to the roster. But I mean, we have RJ Barrett, who I think can slash to the paint, fairly well. But I think the Knicks do have shooting within Alec Burks and Reggie Bullock. Those guys can knock down the shot like Sam alluded to. But if the shots aren't in rhythm, those guys aren't going to knock down those shots consistently. Sure. So I feel like in order to get those guys some good looks, as far as in rhythm looks, we got to have someone to be able to slash and get to the paint whenever they want to. RJ Barrett is kind of there. He's a slasher, but we really don't have anybody else to really break down the defense and draw other people outside of Julius Randle. But from a guard position, we don't have anybody that can be able to break down the defense and get to the paint whenever he wants to be able to kick that ball out like that. So this is why when people say that Russell Westbrook, and I know he's gone, he's not coming to the team or whatever, but this is why when people say Russell Westbrook doesn't help the team because he can't shoot, I totally disagree with that, because Russell Westbrook can get to the paint whenever he wants, and he can score in the paint whenever he wants. Whether it's clogged or not, Russell Westbrook is going to get to the paint, and that can be able to open up and get those guys some good shooting in rhythm, Alec Burks and Reggie Bullock. What do you guys think about that? Do you think that type of addition would have been good for this current team?
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, obviously it would, and, Russell Westbrook ain't coming. We know that,
right,
and you're hoping, and I think that's the reason why Tom Thibodeau is still looking towards Dennis Smith Jr. and wants to try to get something out of Dennis Smith Jr. because he's a guy that can possibly do that. And help Reggie Bullock and Alec Burks and those guys out there on the perimeter. Let me get to the caller. Caller, you live. What's popping?
Hey, good evening. I just wanted to talk a bit about the game and about what I saw.
All right.
I just kind of felt like from the start, obviously did take a little step back with the defense today. And it kind of felt like it started with Julius Randle. I don't want to feel like I'm balling up on Julius Randle, but
no, go ahead. Say
it really
piece,
started with. Yeah, it started up in the beginning of the game, and they ran the play. I think it was like a pick and roll or something. And either he got lost and he lost Blake Griffin, and Blake Griffin got that wide open three. And it's just like you can kind of see the team was a little frustrated. And there was a couple of times early in the game when he got kind of lost on the defensive end, and it's like you can kind of see that frustrating, kind of like bring the team down a little bit.
Okay, so let me respond to that real quick, because here's what I see in those situations, and there was actually a breakdown on Twitter about some things that they're trying to do defensively. They're really trying to guard the paint. So even when they have their big men out on the perimeter, they're asking their big men to dip all the way in the paint to make sure the guys aren't getting easy layups. But then it's their responsibility to get back out and try to cover the guys that are shooting threes. You know what I'm saying? So when you have someone like a Blake Griffin or someone out there that can knock down those threes, and you're still getting in to cover the paint, right? When somebody penetrates to the basket, now you got to hustle back out there. And for a big guy, you got to be careful that you don't foul. You got to be careful on certain things. There was one time with Julius Randle that I was really upset when Blake Griffin got an open three. They did a little bit of a screen and roll. He helped out on the guard a little bit, but he had more than enough time to get back to Blake Griffin, but he gave him too much space. He didn't really close out on him, and he dared him to shoot it. Right, and Blake Griffin shot it, and he knocked it down. For me, that's really the only time that I was really upset, because if you look at a lot of the defensive schemes, they got Julius Randle, or not just Julius Randle, they got any of the big men coming over and helping out the guard. Right? So that big man comes over and helps out the guard. It's now the guys on the backside. It's their responsibility to step in and stop the guy who is rolling to the basket, so that the big man, once he stops the guard, he has enough time to get back to the guy that's rolling to the basket. You got to rely on that backside help. Sometimes that backside help is not coming all the way.
Okay,
you know what I'm saying? So you got to look at some of those defensive schemes.
We also did that in that first pick and roll on the first shot that Blake Griffin made. I don't think even the guard even made it all the way to the paint. I think it was kind of like on the wing, on the right side of the wing. It was basically at the top of the screen where I was looking at. But maybe I didn't follow it well enough. But I don't feel like the guard even got into the paint. It was like an action they were running on the other side of the court, and he just kind of almost was down near the baseline, kind of like over there in the corner. He just kind of like got stuck over there, and just Blake Griffin just kind of flashed out to the wing, like sort of like the wing, and basically hit the shot. But then it's not even just that, but what about in the second half? Like when he was playing, that kid Dumbayo, that 19-year-old kid, French kid.
Dumbayo.
I mean, when he was playing power forward, I mean, like it was just like every time, it was just like he kept, getting wide open in the paint.
The only thing I'm going to ask you to do is this, right? The next time you're watching any of the guys play, right, pay attention to see if, what the defensive schemes are. Are they switching? Are they helping out on the guard? Are they showing to make sure that the guard doesn't get into the paint, right? And then look at it and see where it is. Right, and see, how much time it takes for someone to get back to their man, right? Because it's not as easy task, and it really means that you've got to have team defense, because teams run pick and roll a heck of a lot in the NBA, and you have quick guards, right? And so you use your big man to stop the guard. You show your big man to stop that guard to make sure he doesn't get into the paint, right? And that means they may not get into the paint because your big man stopped them from getting into the paint. Now your big man has to recover to the roller, right? To stop that roller, you need some backside help. Sometimes you just do a switch, right? Now, if you switch, like say there's two, let's say there's a power forward and a center that can both handle the ball, and they're running a screen and roll. Now your big man have to decide, are we going to switch? Or are we going to, what are we going to do? Right? So you have to pay attention to all of those things and see what happens.
I'm sorry not to cut you off. I'm sorry I cut you off. But wouldn't that even be decided before the game? Like, don't they have a game plan? Like, okay, this is what we're going to do on pick and rolls. Like, or are you saying, like, the players have the ability to decide on the court how they're going to play?
Yeah, so normally what happens is the guy, so let's say I'm defending somebody and my guy sets the screen. I'm in the back. I'm going to call out what's going to happen to my teammate. I might yell switch. I might say, no, I don't switch. I got him because I can see exactly what's happening. You know what I'm saying? So it's up to the defenders. They may have a plan going in, say, hey, we're going to switch everything or we're going to fight over every screen. But in the event that such and such and such happens, this is what you got to communicate, right? Because obviously it doesn't always work the way that you plan, right? So they got to know how they're going to do certain things. And like, for example, if you have a guard and a big man running screen and roll, you might say to the guard, the coach might be like, you're the guard. You got to fight over that screen every time so that you can stay with your guard because I don't want my big guys having to switch out on the guard, right? So you got to fight over the screen. But if you got guys who are of similar size, you might say, hey, you guys could switch all day because you're similar size. So, it can be different for every time you step on the floor based on your matchups. And then based on what happens on the floor, too, the players may just have to call it out. And communication is the key.
Yeah. Well, with the, I don't want to kill Julius all day, but I don't know. I just that was just one example for me. Like I thought, on defense, he was an issue at times today. And then it's just this wasn't really his fault on the offensive end. It was just more the starters early in the game. They really struggled. They also struggled the first game, but today, luckily they redeemed themselves in the third quarter. So that was definitely a good thing. But it's hopefully I am pretty encouraged by it though. I'm encouraged by the effort for both games, although the defense wasn't as great as it was. But if you think about it, they still. Given how terribly we played offensively today, to still be able to not get blown out and still hold the Pistons down to 99 points, I found that really encouraging.
Yeah,
and then on top of that, how Thibodeau, he just wasn't giving up. He just kept trying to find new things.
Exactly.
He was trying to find the right mix of players. Also kept coaching guys up, telling them what to do. So
exactly,
it looked ugly, but it was really encouraging in my opinion.
Like you said, that just the effort that on there's some possessions where everybody and Julius Randle, right? You know, I mentioned, the one thing I seen where he didn't get out on Blake Griffin, and I'm like, yo, come on. And there are other times when someone penetrates to the basket and he doesn't have to try to block the shot. He just got to get over there with his body and get in the way, right? And play that help side defense. And then if they kick it out to his man, hustle back out to get to his man. Yep, I see it all the time. But this team, they play with a lot of they play with some fight, at least from what we've seen so far in these two. We'll see if it continues throughout the rest of the season. But so far, it looks like they play with some fight, and hopefully they continue to play with that kind of fight. Because they do play with energy and effort.
I'm sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I said they do play with energy and effort.
Yeah, they definitely do. And so, I know it sounds, crazy to think about, but everyone is expecting them to win only 20, 22 games. I don't think that's going to be the case this year.
Less than that.
Opinion. In the NBA, it's like as long as you play really hard, you can win some ugly games. There's a ton of teams in the NBA that just don't want to fight a lot of nights. And I've watched basketball long enough. And especially I've been a Knicks fan since '91, and so it's this league you can win a lot of games just by playing hard and making it ugly and being scrappy. Because a lot of teams they just don't want to do that, and there's going to be a lot of nights that teams are just going to kind of you're going to basically beat them up, and they're just kind of wilt. And so I think it's definitely a possibility for this team to win. I know it sounds crazy and it's too early to to overreact. Even off of this terrible game that I saw, I really do think they have a shot of getting up to about 30 wins this season.
Hey, well, think about this. They play 72 games. If they get 30 wins, that'd be all right for them if they get 30 wins in 72 games. That means they're, 30 and 42? That's a step up. Hey, I appreciate the time, man. Appreciate the call.
All right. Thanks for taking my call.
Thank you.
Not unless they improve the roster.
Well, I mean, I do agree that you can win some games on energy and effort alone.
30 out of 72, son? Come on now.
I'm not saying you're going to win 30 out of energy and effort. There's going to be some teams that aren't as good as you. All right? I think. Let's hear Tom Thibodeau. Let's hear what Tom Thibodeau thinks about the game, ladies and gentlemen.
Through, what have you learned about this group through the first two games?
Well, it's about what I expected. There's been some good, some bad. Like this, I like the situation that we just went through just because you're playing the same team. And, usually when you win a game against an opponent, if you play them again, based on, what I've experienced with, playoff basketball, that team comes with an edge. And, I felt that would happen, and it did. And we're back on our heels at the start of the game. And this really, the start of the game really got us in a hole. And then we fought to, get it back and get it to 10. And then I thought we played well in the third quarter. So we had one good quarter, real good quarter of basketball. And so after the first game, I thought 35, 36 minutes of good basketball. And so we regressed. So, we have to take what happened in this game, look at it, learn from it, and make improvements.
Next question, Mark Berman, New York Post.
Hey, Tom. Obi had so much life and energy Friday. Did he look a little, as a rookie, just maybe a little less active tonight? What did you see from him?
I don't know if he was less active. I think when the ball doesn't go in for you, it can look that way. And there's, ups and downs of a season. And we have a lot of players that I think right now measure everything by how it's going offensively for them. And you can't do that in this league. There's going to be some nights in which you shoot the ball better than others. And when you don't shoot it well, you have to have the understanding that you can play well by doing other things. And also to understand what's going on in the game. I thought they were aggressive in trapping pick and rolls and we were unwilling to get the ball out of the trap quickly and make the second pass, which would have gotten us a wide open shot. It's actually what we did in the third quarter to get better shots. And sometimes when you get two on the ball, that's what you want, and then that creates easy offense for the team, and we have to understand that. And so I think we'll work on it. We'll get better at it, and then again, I want to look at the threes, but we were high turnover, and we got to get that corrected.
Next question, Steve Popper, Newsday.
Hey, Tom, what you just mentioned about the two on the ball getting caught, it looked like Dennis got caught in that a couple times. What have you seen from him as a point guard so far these couple games, and kind of where he's at right now?
Yeah, some good and some bad. And tonight, I didn't think he wasn't on the floor at the start of the game, and that's what set the tone. And so the second quarter, we got swallowed up and didn't make good plays there. So, but the third quarter I thought was better. So I think you have to be ready for everything in this league, and there's a multitude of different ways of how you could defend the pick and roll. And so we have to be ready to handle them all. And, we saw some zone tonight. We've got to be ready to attack that. And usually in this league, when a player gets hot, they're going to get trapped. And then you have to play off that. And if a play is called and it's your play, it doesn't mean it's your shot. It means you have the responsibility to make the play for the team. And so when we play for each other, good things happen. And that's what we have to understand. We have to make the game easy. Principle of sound offense is forcing defense to collapse, and that's got to be a priority.
Next question, Mike Borganoff, The Athletic.
Hey, Tom, it looked like a number of times you kind of pulled Dennis over after a play, or I think after the end of the first quarter there, just kind of chat with him about, I guess, something you saw on the court with what he's doing. I mean, what are you telling him in those instances, and what are you wanting to see from him in these games?
Well, when you're the point guard, you're running the team. And so the responsibility is to make sure everyone gets to the right spots. And so when guys don't do that, you don't have the outlets that are necessary to take advantage of what the defense is doing. So it really wasn't just Dennis. It was the rest of his teammates also. So that it's all tied together. And so we have to understand how important that is. When a player's being trapped, to get to the right spot so the outlets are easy to get the ball out of the trap, and then usually it's the second pass out of the trap where the rotation can't keep up with it. So we're just trying to get that ironed out, and we haven't had a lot of practices, but we have to be able to take things from a ballroom or a shoot around and be able to apply them to a game. And so hopefully we can learn from this and get better.
We have time for two more questions. Next question, Steph Bondi, New York Daily News.
Hey, Tom. I think it was 8 for 33 from beyond the arc. They even went to a 2-3 zone in the first quarter, daring you guys to shoot sometimes. The shots weren't good in the first game either. How much of a concern is that for you right now?
Well, we look at all the shots that we take. And so when the defense does collapse and you kick it out and you make the proper rim read, those are rhythm shots. So I think we made 5 threes in the first game. We made 8 tonight. And then when you see zone, you're going to get more threes. So and it's something we have to continue to work on. And I think we have guys that are capable of making, and we're going to continue to work on it.
Last question comes from Mike Borganoff, The Athletic.
What did you think of Emmanuel quickly in his debut and just the type of minutes you were trying to give him?
Yeah, it was short minutes, 9-10 minutes, and I liked him. Some jitters early on, but he's not afraid. He likes to compete, and we didn't see him shoot the ball. I think he's a knockdown shooter. We'd like to see more of those. When I see him do it in practice all the time, and when he raises up to shoot, you think it's going in.
All right. So I'm going to tell you what I took from that. He said, the principle of a sound offense is causing the defense to collapse. That means you got to have guys that can get to the basket. You got to have guys that can draw defenders to you. We have two of them right now. So if everyone out there watching is wondering why Julius Randle is on the floor, it's because Tom Thibodeau believes that Julius Randle can cause the defense to collapse. Do they got to work on kicking the ball out and getting the ball out faster? Yes, they do. Right? Do they have to work on Julius Randle recognizing that double team quicker? Yes, they do. And getting the ball out? Yes, they do. Understanding, I thought he even did better tonight, not getting himself caught up with three people around him, right? Because he doesn't have good hands, and he seems to trip a lot. And maybe the circumstances didn't dictate it, but I don't know. Maybe he avoided it, or maybe it just didn't happen tonight that way. But listen, Tom Thibodeau is putting the guys on the floor, clearly putting the guys on the floor that he thinks can win the basketball game, which is the reason why in that third quarter, their starting group played till like a minute left in the third quarter. They played like 10, 11 minutes in that third quarter. They played for a while. I'm going to take this phone call now. I want to get back. Well, actually, I'm going to do a couple of super chats, but I want to talk about DSJ and what we're seeing from Dennis Smith Jr. All right, so let me get to Joshua O'Crane. Excuse me. He said, salute to everyone. He said, we get one loss in the preseason and we lose our minds. Let's see what these boys can do. We can win. At least Wayne Brickington is burning it up for their team. Oh, he's talking about Ellington is burning it up for the Pistons. He said, RJ shot looks okay. Let's give it time. I'm with you, man. We got to give it time. I want to watch these guys play. Frank Corona, he said we could potentially trash the idea of a traditional point guard and have RJ and Rivers share the ball handling duties. Listen, when Rivers comes back, I think he's going to add a different dynamic to the game. Someone who's another guard out there that's a little bit more experienced. I think DSJ and Frank are going to have to watch out when Rivers comes back. Right, because I think we're seeing very clear that Tom Thibodeau likes to have guards or players with experience out there. All right, Estevan Nembard, thank you for the super chat. He said, what does the lack of scoring mean for Iggy and Powell? They are both scorers struggling for spots. I think what it means to me is that, well, for Powell, I'm not going to say it for Powell. I think what Powell is just, being that there's so many other guards on the team that are guaranteed, that are on the roster. Powell's not even on a roster, that he's giving these guys their proper chance. For Iggy, it could be defensive. I don't know. It's hard to say with Iggy. But I think for Powell, since he's an unsigned rookie, an undrafted rookie, it just has to do with seniority on the team, I believe, at this point. And he's not good enough to just, where he dominates so much that it's like, yo, we got to get this kid on the floor. You get what I'm saying? So, I think Powell will end up playing for Westchester, and then we'll see how things pan out in the future. Kaiser Souls, thank you for the super chat. He said, can we agree the Dennis Smith Jr. experiment is over? He can't shoot, pass, or dribble. I need to see someone else run the second team, please. All right, so let's talk about Dennis Smith Jr. All right. For Tom Thibodeau, this Dennis Smith Jr. experiment just started. So for Tom Thibodeau, it may not be over at all. It just started. And I still think that he knows that Dennis Smith Jr. is maybe the only guy that can bring that explosiveness that maybe he feels we need from that guard position, from that point guard position. So I think he's going to try to give him a chance, to at least in the preseason, learn how to do some facilitation and this and that. I think at some point you're going to see, and maybe even when Austin Rivers gets back, I don't understand why he hasn't done it with Frank. He's played when Frank and DSJ are in the game at the same time. He's had Frank be off the ball and Dennis Smith Jr. be on the ball. I don't know what his thinking is behind that. But at some point, I think he's going to say, let me just put Dennis Smith Jr. off the ball and let him go and do what he does best and see if we can benefit that way. Because what I see from him is, he was talking about, in that interview, he was talking about guards getting trapped and not passing out of the trap. I think he was talking about two guys, though, not just the guard. I think he was also talking about Julius Randle, right? He's talking about Dennis Smith Jr. getting trapped, not being able to pass out of that trap, and as we talk about with Julius Randle, getting trapped and taking too long to pass out of the trap, right? Sometimes turning the ball over. Although it didn't happen that much tonight, he could have been looking at the previous game too, just talking about the previous game. But Dennis Smith Jr. got trapped a few times and struggled to get the ball out of the trap. So he talked about some different things, a few different things. And Big Freezy has brought this up a couple of times. It's not just the person being trapped. It's not just their responsibility to break the trap. It's also other people that have to move to the ball and move to the right spot so that they can receive the basketball out of the trap and then swing it to the other side of the floor. Right? It's also it's your teammates' responsibility too. But Dennis Smith Jr., I feel like he's so focused right now trying to be the leader on the floor and facilitate. You heard Tom Thibodeau a couple interviews ago say, we're trying to get him to focus on running his team. Right? I think he's so focused on that right now. When he gets pressure, he's not sure what to do. His natural instinct when he feels any kind of ball pressure is to go past the guy and score. That's what he does, and that's what he does best. Right now, I think he's thinking the game. He's thinking, he's not reacting, and it's, at this moment, hurting his play. But sometimes that's the learning process. You know what I mean? Not him. I'm coming to you, man. What do you think about Dennis Smith Jr.? And what do we need to do with DSJ?
Personally, I like Dennis Smith Jr. When we traded for Dennis Smith Jr., I was hoping it would have worked. You know what I mean? I was like everybody else, excited to have a point guard like that. I know life is short. NBA life is even shorter, man. You know what I mean? He gotta step up his game, man. But it's a money game, man. And if you look at certain players' contracts, some kids come in and behind them, next year's draft, next year's free agent, it doesn't look like Dennis Smith might have a spot on our roster, man. You know what I mean? We want a better team. You know what I mean? And Dennis Smith Jr., Frank, Payton, they looking like they don't want to hold down the spot, man. They looking like they just keep trying to give it up. You know what I'm saying? And the assets that we have, that we hold, we could put in place better players that will want to come to New York and win. You know what I mean? With no injuries, with nothing holding them back. Just bringing them on a fresh rookie contract. You know what I mean? And I kind of feel bad for Dennis Smith Jr., man, but that's just the way the cookie crumbles, man. He got to put up.
Yeah, I mean, I feel you. And he's, for the last two seasons, he's been going through this, trying to learn and figure out how to be an up and down, straight up point guard, and it's hard for him, man. It's hard for him.
But hey, man, certain kids got contracts behind them. Certain kids are coming up. We got a chance to look at our rookie this year, man. Our 27th pick overall.
Yeah.
And he looked, not that he looked better, but he's pushed up the ball a little bit more quicker. You know what I mean? And you don't want that kid to put out his own energy on that court, because then Dennis Smith Jr. may not even see any playing time.
Yeah, I feel you. I mean, do you think, and I'm going to come to you next, Evergreen, do you think that by the time we get 15 games into the season, Emmanuel quickly might be playing over Dennis Smith Jr.?
Well, if you let Quickly sit on the bench a little bit more, you give him more of that, like, I want to get in the game, I want to produce.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like dog, sit down and timeout. You're going to have your time. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, dog, sit right there. You're going to have your time. Let these guys keep doing little bonehead plays. Because when Quickly get on that court, by him sitting on the bench, learning from the other people's mistakes, he'll look to make those shots that they're not making. You know what I mean? He'll look to produce on that time that these guys are getting and they're not producing. You know what I mean? And that's what we're going to want from him for the next 4 years, because he still got 4 years on his contract. And I want to see him succeed. You know what I mean? Just like I want to see Dennis Smith succeed. But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Time is short, man.
I feel you. Time is definitely running short on him. You know what I'm saying? Because this is Dennis Smith Jr.'s contract year. Him and Frank, it's his contract year, and if they don't show up and prove that they have some worth to this team, might be tough for him, man. Might be tough for him. Evergreen, go ahead, man.
All right. So again, you just hit on a point that I wanted to make is this is a contract year for both of them. Their value was so low that we were not getting anything for them unless we were going to get fleeced with our assets, right? So this is why you build through the draft so that you don't get fleeced. This is the first time that we've ever been in a financial situation where we could potentially sign free agents and throw them a real bag, right? This is the first time it's ever happened. We all know that this free agency market this year was trash. There was nothing out there for us. We all know that the players that we wanted to trade with didn't even consider coming here off of those trades. They immediately got what they wanted. Chris Paul's gone. Right. The argument can be made for Russell Westbrook, but he wasn't coming here. We didn't have that interest in him. Right. Dragic is gone. Right. Like the players that we wanted to make trades for, we didn't have the option of getting them at all. Right. Like those teams weren't looking at. So we have to allow, since DSJ's contract year is so low, we have to allow for him to grow, either shape up or ship out. That has to happen, right? You don't lose anything for dropping Julius Randle off after this. I mean, Dennis Smith Jr. off at the end of the season. You don't lose anything for dropping Frank Ntilikina off at the end of the season. But you still have the options right now with still being able to push up Emmanuel quickly after that, because he's still got 4 years left or 3 years left on his contract. The intent that I see is to build through the draft and to build through the free agency. This is the actual long haul road, not the one that we think we've been having since 2013 after everyone was gone. This is the legitimate long haul road right now. All those other things that we've been doing over the last 7 years have been attempts at quick fixes, and they haven't worked. We failed at every single one of them. Every single one of them. I mean, for God's sakes, Jarrett Jack and Emmanuel Mudiay were put over point guards that we drafted, right? When you draft any player, you would expect that they're going to be somewhere a part of your future. Unless you don't have the cap to be able to work with them, then you trade them off because you can't afford them. But if you're drafting a player, your intent is to build that player. And we haven't done that with Frank. We were supposed to draft DSJ, but we didn't, and we drafted Frank instead. And now they're both on contract years. So now you, in my opinion, you let those guys take their lumps and let this be their contract year, just like it's their contract year. If they don't have the intestinal fortitude to play for their jobs, then they don't deserve to be here or in the NBA. But at least give them that chance to do so without having the other asterisks that we've put over their games the entire career. Like I said, Jared Jack played over him. Emmanuel Mudiay played over him. Hell, even if you want to, didn't Ron Baker play part of a season over
He
Frank?
might have, yeah. He might have.
Right.
Yep.
So what I'm saying is that we've never actually put real stock into the players. We never put real stock into them. Right. We never put real stock into DSJ. Right. He was hurt, and we went through 3 coaches since he's been here. We've been through 5 coaches since Frank's been here. Right. Now that we're on the 5th coach now that Frank's in. So now that Thibodeau's here, allow Thibodeau to do his job. Right. Okay. Allow Thibodeau to do his job. Even if you get another point guard in here, he may be good, but where the hell are you going to get him from? You only have right now, because players are in control of the league, your only option is to go through the draft. So again, we are in a safe position. If Frank Ntilikina doesn't work out and DSJ doesn't work out, you don't lose out on anything financially because it's a contract year. And Emmanuel Quickly is only making $4 million, right? He's a first round pick, so he's only making like $4 million. We have these players on a cheap. Championships are built foundationally, right? When a championship is built, it is built foundationally off of players that you get the most out of for the least amount of money. And because organizationally you save money, you now have the ability to get your 1 to 2 players to get you over the hill to fight in the playoffs. We are not at that position right now to where we're even fighting for a playoff spot, let alone contending, right? Okay. So you have to get to a point where you develop your players to get to a playoff position to where you can say, you can be how the New Jersey Nets were a few seasons ago when they had, D'Angelo Russell. Nobody was expecting him to take off. And then now they say, you know what, we have a foundation with this team. Now we can go and get Kyrie and Kevin Durant because we're financially secure. We made great financial decisions. We have to get to a point to where we have our young players that are available and ready before we start trying to take on these huge contracts of players that, are not, I want to say old, but, we want to be able to maintain our flexibility and maintain our control.
Yeah. Okay. Let me respond to this. So in regards to the question about Dennis Smith Jr., right? I believe Dennis Smith Jr. is not going to be on the outside looking in when it comes to rotation wise. I think Tom Thibodeau believes in him more than he believes in Frank Ntilikina and the rest of the young guys. That's why DSJ is running the second unit, and he's getting the majority of the minutes as far as that trio of young players is concerned. Now, everyone thought it was going to be Frank Ntilikina because of his defensive ability, but apparently it's not. I think Tibbs definitely gives a lot more stock into DSJ than Frank Ntilikina. So I believe if go ahead, Sam.
I was going to ask a question. So then, if that's the case, why down the stretch of this game when he had RJ, Julius, I think Nerlens was out there, and he had Frank at the point guard spot and not DSJ? Like, if he was going to bring somebody in instead of Alfred, right, he brought in Frank instead of DSJ.
Well, if you look at the minutes breakdown, and last game was the same thing, DSJ had 17 minutes and Frank had 12. 12 minutes in this game. So I think Frank needed to get some playing time, out there. I don't think, I think right now Tibbs is really trying to figure things out right now as far as how what he wants to do and, getting Frank that time that everyone has been asking for. But I think at the end of the day, DSJ is going to be the guy to take over that second unit, at least until Austin Rivers comes back. Okay, so
not for nothing. When Frank checked in towards the end of the game was over already.
Right.
The game was over already. I think we were down. I think we were down like 10. That game was over.
When it got down towards the end, I think the most we went down was about 8. And we had gotten it to about 5 points with like maybe 1 minute and 30 seconds left. But he got in with about 4 or 5 minutes to go. And the game's still kind of, in the balance. Because I looked at it and
I gotta go back and look at that. But the way I saw that game going, like I personally felt like I knew that game was over. We wasn't gonna win. Even when Frank checking in, like he should have checked in a little earlier. But again, what lost the game for us wasn't Frank being Frank playing bad. Like we were getting cooked in the paint. We were getting cooked in the paint.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't Frank. I was just asking Josh, he said that he believes that Thibodeau is holding more stock in DSJ than Frank. But it caught my eye for the point guard position. But it caught my eye that Frank was in when Tom Thibodeau clearly brought guys in that he thought was going to be able to bring the team back or try to pull the game out, because I think Tom Thibodeau wants to win these games, and he put Frank in that during that time. But let me get to this. Let me get to this caller, all right, and then we'll get back to it. I do want to recognize Nabil Zaman. Thank you for the super chat. He said, why not play Randall more at the 5 with 4 shooters on the court? And we can do this for about 5 to 10 minutes a game just to clear up the clutter. He said Randall attracts 3 guys sometimes. Randall does attract 3 guys sometimes. That's why some of those guys get wide open shots. We've been over it. I ain't even going to dig into it. Caller, you live, man. What's popping?
How's it going? Devon from Brooklyn.
Hey, what's going on, Devon? How you feeling, man?
I'm going to say this first. I didn't see the game tonight because I was doing a fantasy, but I like the conversation that's going on right now, so I just want to put my 2 cents into it.
All right.
The whole talk about Dennis Smith Jr.
Yeah.
I wanted the Knicks to draft him since he got in the league. Mavericks took him. Now, when he got traded, I know that was out of the loop because him and Luka looked like a nice piece. When he came here, he didn't know what was going to happen. We already ran through like about 6, 7, 8 different coaches. We don't know how to build. Knicks fans, I'm speaking as a whole, Knicks fans don't really know what they really want. We got spoiled by the Patrick Ewings and these stars. We want somebody ready all the time. We're not like the 76ers. We're definitely not like the Warriors. We're not like, the Hawks are doing pretty good in terms of building. We look at everybody we draft. We're going from KP to, Frank, Knox. The minute we see them do bad, we're bashing them. We're not giving them a chance. These kids is young. It takes time. New Yorkers, like anybody in the chat right now, we very impatient. We city guys, we city girls, whatever you want to call it. Like we just impatient. Walk down the street, we ready to, we're ready to move and beep our horns and all that. We just not ready for that. So with that being said, when was the last time the Knicks extended a rookie contract?
Oh my goodness!
I guess it was Charlie Ward. I think that's what I keep hearing. Charlie Ward, right?
Charlie Ward.
That's crazy, right?
That's crazy. That's crazy.
So we
Charlie
got all
Ward.
So we got all these rookies, and we thinking about Frank. I see people bashing Frank. Let me tell you something. Frank is like a Michael Gilchrist, but like he could pass. Like they're gonna use him through 1 through 3. He's not gonna be our primary point guard. That's not what they're gonna use him for. They're gonna use him to be like a defender. He's gonna be able to switch easy defense. He's gonna be like a primary ball handler. Dennis Smith Jr., like I said, I'm gonna go back to him real quick. He's a person that came here, did not really know what's going on. We signed Elfrid Payton. We signed Austin Rivers. We signed Alex Burks. I was really mad at those last two pickups because we have so many guards. Now we have like a 15-man rotation. These people's going to get like about 20 to 25 minutes each. It's not going to be much building again with a brand new coach. Another problem we're having again. It's like we have these rookies, but they don't know. They still want to grab these other players to help out, but we're grabbing too many players. That's the problem. So we got these rookies to build up. Huh?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, go ahead.
So what you think is going to happen with Dennis Smith Jr.?
They're going to use him. So kind of like what you were saying a little earlier, he's, it's going to be like brand new again. You have a new coach, so he wants to see what he's doing. So once again, we're going to have Tom Thibodeau kind of starting over with the guys. He's going to see what he sees, and then he's going to like flex them out. So he's probably going to start with Dennis Smith, but for some reason, like the Knicks organization, they love Elfrid Payton. But I don't know if much people really like him, but he's good, but he's not a shooter. You see, I don't really know what the Knicks fans really want. Do they want a passing shooter? Do we want a passing defender? What type of point guard do we really need? A passing slasher and Dennis Smith. So
yeah, it's hard to. I mean, we won't know what they really need until Tom Thibodeau decides. Decides this is what we are and this is what we need. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to say. It's hard to say, man. Hey, I appreciate your call, bro.
All right, man.
Appreciate your call, bro. Peace.
Can I Sam, let me say something real quick, and I have to really let Knicks fans probably understand this already, but it's been almost 50 years since the Knicks won a championship. 50, 5-0. Okay, in the 1969-1970 season, that was the last time the Knicks had an MVP on the roster, which was Willis Reed. In today's NBA, it's a player-driven league. You got to have MVPs on your team in order to be able to win a championship. Yes, you do have to have the development, and you do have to have an infrastructure in place, which the Knicks are building, but you also have to have star players on your team. Because star players not only win you games, but they also make the people around them better. And that's what we're hoping RJ Barrett is going to do. But the notion that the Knicks saved $40 million in cap space last year and this offseason and next season is going to be even more, up to upwards to $50 to $60 million, so that they can come in and sign stopgaps. That's not why they're saving that money. They wanted to go out there and they wanted to go get somebody.
Yeah, of course. Of course.
Yeah,
of course.
But hold on. But what I'm saying is, but Evergreen is acting like the Knicks are just doing everything, from the ground up and building, the culture from the ground up without trying to go get some big names in here. They want to get big names in here. That's what they wanted to do.
I'm not saying that. I agree with that notion. What I am saying is under the previous regime, which was, we're going under Steve Mills' regime, he got rid of KP under the guise of under the he got rid of Porzingis and saved up all that cap space. So he clearly wanted to sign KD and Kyrie. Like we know that. What I'm saying is that mind state is correct, but it's a step too early in the way you build a successful NBA franchise. You get your superstar players after you've built your foundation of roles.
You can do them at the same time. You can do them simultaneous. And no one is saying, but hold on. No one is saying that if you go out and you trade for a superstar player that you're giving up on development. It's not like if you have one, you give up on the other. You can do both at the same time. And I believe that if you hold on. And I believe that if you have a superstar player, that produces winning. That's contagious. That superstar player is contagious. Winning helps the development more than losing. This is like I believe the Knicks are developing their young talent right now, and they're going to let the young talent go out there and burn. But if the Knicks were winning right now and have a more successful roster and a winning roster, that will be better for the development rather than losing.
Well, and look, I agree with you. But
yes,
but you gotta. I mean, you still gotta go. You gotta go through the steps. You gotta go through the process. And yeah, they got the money available so that if something happens, they can pounce. It's just pouncing on the right thing. You know what I mean? Let's hear from RJ, and then hear from RJ Barrett, and then we'll come and we'll give some last words. I do want to remind everybody I am going to be on tomorrow at 3:30 as we do Knicks Weekly. We'll talk about this and some other things. We'll wrap up some things from around the NBA, talk about stories around the NBA. Of course, we'll primarily talk about the New York Knicks. That's tomorrow at 3:30. I will put the link in the chat. If you have not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to the channel and ring that notification bell so you can be notified whenever I'm live or post in my community section or anything like that. All right, so subscribe, smash that like button. Here's RJ Barrett, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey, RJ, Coach talked about the start of the game just kind of not being there, you guys not being ready for it. Did you feel something that they came out a little harder than you guys, or what happened at the start there?
Yeah, they played harder than us. At the beginning of the game. There's not much else I could say besides that.
Next question comes from Steph Bondi, Daily News.
Hey, RJ, you've been real aggressive, going to the basket, scoring the ball. 25 points today, obviously. Is this what you kind of expect for yourself this season?
I just want to make, the right plays. Been watching a lot of film. I'm having too many turnovers. I'm going to try to, make the right play so that the team could be successful. It doesn't matter if I score or get a hockey assist or get the assist. It doesn't matter.
Next question comes from Ian Bagley, SNY.
RJ, I know it's only been 2 preseason games, but does anything about the game feel different, look different for you second year now when you would compare this to where you were at your first year?
It's a little slower. I'm a little more comfortable, kind of know what to expect a little more. I feel like, you kind of know how certain, teams, certain coaches, what their schemes are going to be. So, just really getting more comfortable.
Next question comes from Mike Vorkunov, The Athletic.
Hey, RJ. It seemed like you were, as you were saying, kind of more comfortable running on the pick and roll, being on the ball. From all the work that you did in the offseason and the film study, was that a point of emphasis for you? Was just the playmaking side of things?
Yeah, I do. I need to do a lot better job. My teammates are ahead of me, in great positions. I need to do a better job of, getting into them. Like I said, I had too many turnovers, that kills the team. So I'm just going to try to, get back to watching film again to try to, help my teammates out more.
Next question comes from BJ from Knicks Digital.
Hey, RJ. First game back at the Garden on Wednesday. How are you guys feeling?
Always love playing in the Garden. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be different with no fans, but, playing in the Garden itself is a great experience. So I'm definitely excited.
Next question comes from Steph Bondi, Daily News.
Hey, RJ, the 3-point shot for you, is that something you expect to be falling as the season goes along?
Yeah, I'm not worried about it. Just got to play basketball. If the shot's there, take it. Like I said, I've been trying to make the right reads, the right place, so I'm not worried about it at all.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was RJ Barrett. And listen, RJ had a good game tonight, man. Had 25 points, 4 or 5 rebounds. It would have been nice if he had a few more assists. He did it on efficient shooting. He only took 17 shots. It's good. That's good. 10 for 17, I think he was from the field. Caller, you live. What's popping?
Hello?
Yeah, what's going on with you, man? How you feeling? Talk to me about RJ. You like what RJ did tonight?
Yeah, I did it all right, man. I think he's getting a lot more used to the spacing here, even though the spacing is kind of horrible. It's the same case with the point guards in that team. I think the spacing kind of throws them off. They're all kind of slashers in the sense, and we all kind of expected them to shoot well. So that's not what they do well. We shouldn't expect that from them anyway. Tibbs is a coach that kind of puts players into their strong side. So we shouldn't really expect too much out of them. I mean, when Austin Rivers comes back, I think there's a better hope for that. But I want to talk about Kevin Knox too. We can't really figure out if he's a shooter or he's a slasher. Defensively, I think he could be a good good guy on the switch, but offensively, I'm still kind of confused about him. I really don't know what he's good at. Maybe transition is probably good, but I don't know.
I think Kevin Knox is trying to figure out what he's good at on the floor right now. He's trying to figure out the game, and he's in the lineup with the young guys. So I like that Coach Tibbs has him in the lineup with the young guys, right? Because it's easier to play it's easier to play with confidence when you're playing with guys your age, I think. So now I'm just waiting to see how is it, we're not going to really know what all of these guys can do until they develop some kind of continuity on that side of the ball, the offensive side of the ball. So, when Coach Tibbs gets his rotation and he's got a bunch of these young guys in there together, hopefully we're going to start to see that, they draw up some plays specifically for Knox, specifically for Obi, or whoever else is in the game at that time. So it's hard to say. I'll say this. I think that he will be a good 3-point shooter, Kevin Knox. They said he has said that he's been working on his post-up game during the offseason. We haven't seen it yet. We did see, a nice pull-up that he made the last game. I think today he took a fadeaway, like a little pull-up fadeaway or whatever it was. I don't really want to see him fading away that much. I like to see him just go straight up and down and knock it down until his game develops, and then throw that fadeaway in there. Kevin Knox he can do a few things on the floor. He has passing ability. He can shoot the ball. He can take it coast to coast. He's the kind of guy I think can be an all-around type of a player. But will he be an impactful all-around type of a player? I think that's the question for him.
That's a good point.
Yeah. So he's a wonder. He's definitely a wonder, and I'm just trying to be patient. I don't want to judge off of these first 2 preseason games with really any of the guys. But as the season goes along and Coach Tibbs finds a lineup, his rotation, that's when I think you're really going to start to see guys get more comfortable working with each other, playing with each other, and guys will find where they fit in. And once you start to find where you fit in, I think that's when you start to play better. I still wonder where we're going to get scoring from, but,
Yeah, I feel like we should just be patient, like y'all mentioned, and I don't know. Hopefully, Tibbs want players to do what they do best, and Dennis Smith Jr. is a slasher. He got some handles. He should just go out and look to do what he does best instead of just checking up threes or long range shots. It's not really a strong point, but yeah, I guess there's a lot more progress to be worked on, and it's only the second preseason game. You know what I mean? So we all got to be patient.
Still got a lot of work to do, man. Yeah.
Patience.
Appreciate your call, my friend. Appreciate your call.
Sure. God bless everybody. Take care.
Later. All right, man. I'm gonna head up out of here, so I want to get some last words from you guys, man. I'm gonna start with you, man. Just some last words on the night. Kind of wrap up the night a little bit.
All right. Just want to say thank you for having me on here. It's my second time on the show. Even though it's preseason, I'm a Knicks fan. I want to win every game. You know what I mean? Every game that my team plays, I want to win. You know what I mean? The chemistry, it looks like Tibbs want to keep the opponents under 90 points. You know what I mean? And that's 90s basketball, trying to keep the opponents under 90 points. Mm-hmm. And that's the goal. We need scorers. We need the guys that's playing like Burks to get a little bit more minutes to keep the scoring up. I love the combination of Noel and Mitch. You know what I mean? And I do like seeing Mitch with Obi and Knox in the second unit because of that length. Right. That length is defensive. And I kind of feel bad that Knox is getting a bad rep from not knocking down shots. And kind of feel bad for him because he's getting burnt trying to help out on the defense, in the paint. But if the small forwards in Detroit didn't beat us, because they put up like 35 points, small forward position in Detroit. They beat us. You know what I mean? That's Knox position. But if the chemistry and the defense philosophy is to keep the defense, to keep the opponents under 90, then I can rock with that. We can go to war with that. Whatever you want to do. But we need our scorers to step up. We need the boys that are open to knock down their shots. No air balls, no hesitation. Draw a foul. We gotta draw the foul. You know what I mean? But stay in the game, man. Don't let them get big leads on us, man. Because I don't want another year of watching. You know what I mean?
I hear you. Trust me, I hear you.
I don't want to be in games where we down by 10, 20, 30. I'll be ready to fight, man. You know what I mean?
Right.
Well, put your gloves on there. Put your gloves on. You're going to need them gloves this season.
I mean, thanks.
I appreciate you, man. And the one thing you said about him maybe trying to hold teams to 90, I think he looks at it and says, we may not have the scoring, so that's how we got to win. You know what I'm saying? We don't got the guys that can score, that can get buckets. That's how we got to win. You know what I mean? Josh, go ahead, man. Give us some last words.
So yeah, I mean, it's gonna be a rough season unless they do something with this roster. I still do believe in our guys. I believe that they can get better, but at the same time, I just don't feel like we have it on the roster right now, and we're headed for another bad season. And that is the thing that I can't stand. I hate that. Okay, the NBA is a player-driven league, primarily guards and wings. Now, I think we have a good base in place for RJ Barrett. I think he's going to develop into something really, really good. I know I always hold him accountable on his jump shot, and he still needs to get better with that. And I will continue to hold him accountable. But I believe we have a good, solid base in RJ Barrett. But the Knicks, and specifically Leon Rose and Scott Perry, need to add some more pieces to this roster, because losing 50, 60, 65 games every year is not going to cut it. Okay, we need to not tank. We need to win some games. And the notion that building through the draft and always, finishing outside the playoffs to get a high enough draft pick, to me, that's same old Knicks. Same old Knicks isn't necessarily going out looking to sign a free agent. I think same old Knicks is waiting for a draft pick that is not guaranteed to come to us. The Knicks finished second or third in the NBA with their record, the season that they this past season, and they wound up getting 8th in the draft. Okay, so the draft lottery is not guaranteed, and even if we do get that draft pick, you got to hit on that draft pick. Okay, so there's so many variables that go into getting a star player here, whether it be through the draft, whether it be through free agency or trades. There's multiple ways to skin the cat, but I want to win. Winning is how the team gets better, and that is the best thing for development, not losing.
Okay, now, I agree with you. I agree with you. Winning is the best thing for development. Winning is by far the best for development. Evergreen.
I always love the way Josh frames things, because it's a jab, but he keeps it PG. I like it. He's a master of semantics. This guy, I like him though. All right, so I want to make this point, man. With the exception of any team that LeBron James has won a championship with, especially in the last 25 years, all of those teams built their team through the draft. All of them, right? You can go down a list. The Toronto Raptors. Boston too, and I'll explain, because they made trades. They ended up trading their assets, but they already had a foundation. You can go Golden State for their championships, San Antonio for their championships. I'm not counting Miami again, because they did some crazy stuff and made a bunch of crazy trades to get where they needed to be, right? But that was well outside the draft. They didn't even have any draft picks with that, right? San Antonio, those championship teams are the Toronto Raptors, the Golden State Warriors, San Antonio, the Dallas Mavericks even built that team through the draft, right? The Los Angeles Lakers with Kobe, right? That team was built through the draft. The Boston Celtics with the big three was built through the draft. The San Antonio Spurs, again, with Tim Duncan and Manu Ginobili and Tony Parker, was built through the draft, right? The Detroit Pistons was built through the draft, right? The entire the dynasties that we've had in this league over the last 25 years was built through the draft. They've established their foundation first, and then they made the trades to get the all-star, superstar asset to attribute to help with the team, right? I'm not saying do not get a superstar now and utilize him and build with him. I'm simply saying that what has worked for the last 25 years of we watching basketball is the formula of build through the draft first and then get your superstar and then go to the championship.
Every team has draft picks, Evergreen. Every team has draft picks on their team.
Yes. What I'm agreeing with you, but every team doesn't keep that same exact draft and build with them. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, you can go back and you can look at these championship teams and you can see, oh, this dude right here was a foundational draft pick piece and he stayed on the team. We still have him and we're still utilizing him as such, as opposed to teams like the Miami Heat that got rid of all their draft picks and end up getting, Chris Bosh and Waiters and, you know what I mean? And LeBron James later on after they finally signed him, they already had that foundation built with Dwayne Wade. When they got
you don't think we have that with RJ Barrett? You don't think we have that with RJ Barrett right now?
I'm not saying that we don't, right? I'm not saying that we don't, but RJ Barrett, listen, what I'm saying is if RJ Barrett right now, he's not a superstar. He's not. When they got Dwayne Wade, it took them two or 3 years before they found out, okay, yep, this is the guy that we can officially keep and hold on to. Now let's get the assets with. We don't have that same exact luxury right now because we don't know who and what we have. So you have to build this until you see exactly what you get. Yes, RJ just dropped 25, but he's not doing that consistently yet. Right. So when you officially find out, okay, this is a foundational piece, now we can build around them. Let's grab us a superstar and give him a bag and allow him to be a part of the organization, as opposed to saying, I don't know what we got. I don't know how we're going to use these players that we have on a roster, but let me grab a superstar in hopes that this superstar is going to be able to develop. At least give yourself a strong enough sample size to say, hey, these are the players that I could use and have their skill set added to this team. It's the proof is not just in what I'm saying. The proof is in the championship teams list. And if you go back and look at the championship teams list, you will see all the acquisitions that they made with having their structure built first. Toronto and Golden State are the perfect examples of that. Toronto was in the playoffs for damn near 10 years in a row and were getting knocked out consistently by who? LeBron James.
But hold on, Evergreen. They were in the playoffs though.
Right. That's what I'm saying. They were in the play. Right. That's what I'm saying. They made it to the playoffs through the draft. And then what they do? They made the trade and got rid of DeMar DeRozan and got in a superstar in Kawhi Leonard, and in that same year they won. Do you see what I'm saying?
So you telling me Toronto or none of those teams didn't bring in a really good veteran, if not a superstar, but a really good veteran to help them get to the playoffs? Is that what you're saying?
I'm not saying that they did not do that, but what I'm saying is they had structural pieces built there already.
And I'm saying the Knicks have that right now. The Knicks have RJ Barrett and they have Obi Toppin. Just because I want to trade DSJ and a Knox,
we don't know what we have in Obi Toppin yet. We don't know what we have in Obi Toppin yet. We don't know what we have in RJ Barrett yet. We think that he's going to be a positive piece. Yes, he just dropped 25 in his second preseason game, right? But he averaged 16 points last season. We don't know what we really have. We know RJ Barrett still needs a jumper. He dropped 25 today, and we're still talking about him still needing a jumper. But players with championship teams on it, that the guy's the main effort, we don't talk about that dude not having a jumper. We don't talk about LeBron James not having a jumper. We talk about, damn, LeBron James is killing it in the playoffs right now. Do you see what I'm saying? Except for Giannis.
Except for Giannis.
Giannis hasn't won a championship.
But he hasn't won a championship.
Giannis hasn't won a championship yet.
And LeBron James, when he won his first championship, he didn't have a jump shot either. Neither did Dwayne Wade.
But
and
they had foundational pieces around them. Do you see what I'm saying? They had a strong foundation built. And again, that's the reason why I did not label LeBron James, because he's an outlier. He's an anomaly. Like, he's the one that broke the foundational code that I'm talking about. But all the other teams, they all built through the draft, except for LeBron.
Listen, I agree with you, but all I'm saying is you don't have to trade away the whole farm in order to bring in a superstar. Okay. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I mean,
you can still bring in it.
I get it. I don't know who or what. I just think, I believe that they are going to look to bring in somebody at some point. It's just got to be the right person, the right piece, and that makes sense for your team. And I still think that this regime understands that they have some good, strong, solid pieces, and they're still trying to figure out, okay, let me at least get a structure so I know what kind of player, superstar that I'm bringing in. Do I bring in a shooting guard when I have RJ Barrett? I don't know yet. Right. Do I bring in a power forward when we have Obi Toppin? I don't know yet. You know what I'm saying? So I think, I think we're at that point right now. They know they got a couple of pieces there. They got to see what those guys do so that they know, all right, we know we know we need a point guard. But, as far as, like a straight up star, like, okay, well, we know we need a 3. Let's go find that dynamic 3 that's going to be that, this and that and the other thing. But, fellas, I'm out of here, man. I appreciate you guys. Tomorrow, 3:30, Knicks Weekly. Justin Hernandez, thank you for the super chat. He said, this is a young team. Let it be and build step by step. What are we saying for years? What we've been saying for years. Build here. Build. And here we are. Stop with the fantasy of stars coming here. Just build. So, anyway, I'm out of here, man. I am heading out tomorrow at 3:30. Be Knicks Weekly, and we'll talk some more Knicks and talk about some stuff from around the NBA, and a bunch of other stuff. We'll really look back and break down these last 2 preseason games and stuff like that. All right. So I'll catch you guys at 3:30 tomorrow. If you want to keep talking Knicks, go over to Blanche Tears. They're live right now. As a matter of fact, the link to tomorrow's Knicks Weekly is pinned to the top of the YouTube chat. You can go ahead and click on that and, save the date for tomorrow, or, set your reminders for tomorrow. It's already ready to go. But if you want to go over to Blanche Tears and talk some more Knicks, they're over there talking Knicks right now. I'm putting the link in the chat. Go ahead over there. They'll be up until, I don't know what time you guys are going to bed, but they'll be up until 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, talking Knicks over on Blanche Tears. So you can go ahead over there and check them guys out now. Appreciate you guys, man. And I don't know. We'll see what's going to happen. Who do they play? Cleveland? They play Cleveland on Wednesday, right?
At the Garden.
At the Garden. So we'll see what we'll see. We'll see what it's going to be about, man. Appreciate you guys, ladies and gentlemen. We are out of here. Be peaceful.